Well, what's up, fellas? Coming to you from the Rye Dog Farms. Behind me, you'll see the what will be known as the Elkhorn Saloon. And if I can finish this talk fast enough, maybe I'll stand up and give you a tour of this joint. But we're up doing sheetrock today. Been doing it my entire life. I still completely suck at it. So my wife asked if I could hire it out, and I tried, but anyway, I'm at it. And it does, I'm looking inside right now, it does look terrible, but I'm going to be on my 9th coat when we're done here. Well, here we are. We're 3 or 4 weeks from the end of the show, the Hugh Halter train, and can't wait to be with you guys November 20, not November, whatever the month of May is, May 20. I'm going to fly in and we're going to do a kind of a final bash, and I know Tyler and the gang gave me all the details I was supposed to tell you. I do not have those with me, but I'm sure as organized as the men are that you will be getting information. So please make plans to attend, be with us. I get to go after Tyler one more time in a round of golf. He is the reigning champ, so I'm coming in early, and pray for me. I need a win. I need a win really bad against that guy. So, all right, so we are dropping kind of the last minute bombs on you. I was just trying to think of 4 things that I would tell you. If I never got to see you again, I know I will probably get to see you guys a lot, but just wanted to start sharing kind of some big thoughts with you as I go. And last week, if you missed it, we were just talking about feeding off Jesus. Like if I could tell anybody like, hey, 4 things, you got to just wake up early in the morning and just feed on Jesus every day. It's really the life spring of your life. Today I really want to talk to you about kind of a perspective on resource and money. I normally wouldn't talk about it, but I know as men, it's mostly what we're thinking about. A lot of what we do is tied to the idea of resource and provision and all sorts of other stuff. It's just a typical way that guys think. And so I want to give you kind of perspective on how God thinks or wants us to think about these things. And we're going to entitle this The 4 Amigos, because I'm going to walk you through 4 scripture that go right together out of Matthew 6, starting in verse 19. And whenever I am out of sorts or I'm just feeling like I'm losing perspective, I just always go back here. That's why I wanted to bring it up with you. It's kind of my go-to passage that helps me center back on all of the most important things. It helps remind me of all the things that I'm usually freaking out about that actually have no bearing at all in any value system in the kingdom of God. And so remember the 3 Amigos, great movie, one of the best movies ever made, written, acted. If you remember Steve Martin, Martin Short, and some other, who was the other guy? Anyway, I can't remember. Funny as crap. And there's a scene in the movie where they're talking about this guy named El Guapo. El Guapo is this big, mean Mexican dude that's raping and pillaging everywhere he goes, and they keep running into this cat. And there's a scene where they're having a sensitive conversation about how everyone has their El Guapos. And for some dude, I think it was Steve Marty's like, for some people, El Guapo is shyness. And for other people, and they go through this list. And then finally he says, and for some people, El Guapo is just a big, mean, ugly Mexican that rapes and pillages. But there is something for every man. Every man has an El Guapo related to the idea of provision. How much do we work? How much does God work for us? How much can we really trust him? How much can we really rest based on the idea that he knows about us and will help us in our businesses and in our provision? So we're all dealing with this, and I just want to kind of walk through it. And it goes in this order. So this is kind of the 4 thoughts. It talks about not hoarding up things on earth, okay? Then it goes into what you allow to come in with your eyes, what you see and focus on ends up being where you put everything, all your treasure, right? And then he talks about that you can only have one master, that you can't serve the Jesus that I've been talking through, the Jesus that's the king of the kingdom. You can't serve him and still be so darn amped up about all the things of the world. can't have two other gods. And then finally, there's a passage that really talks about peace and living life without anxiousness. And that's why they all kind of go together. So I just want to dive in. Sorry, I cracked open an IPA. I also have water for those of you that abstain from adult beverages. So trying to help you out no matter what side you're on. All right, so here we go. Don't hoard up for yourselves treasures on earth that can be stolen by thieves. Material wealth eventually always rust and decay, and they lose their value. Instead, stockpile heavenly treasures for yourselves that cannot be stolen and will never rust or decay or lose value. For your heart will always pursue what you value as your treasure. It's an interesting translation called the Passion Translation. It says, for your heart will always pursue what you value as your treasure. And so here we just start off, Hugh Halter, out of sorts, going, okay, why am I stressed out? And it just says, don't lay up for yourselves. Cheryl and I have not really been able to do retirement, honestly. Ryan's epilepsy and medical stuff took, every time we had a savings account, it would just take it up. And then the brain surgery sucked it all up for about 18 years. We had one day where I sold a little company, and so we finally put a little bit of money away, almost as just due diligence. My mom died of dementia, so I just thought, man, we got to have something. But we have, in our lives, we have, not been able to store away, and I wonder at times if I had had a lot of extra, how I would have played that. But it's kind of an interesting thing, like in the world that you and I live in. Many of us are now taking care of our parents, and we know that it's really expensive because we live longer now. Most of the people back in these days, when this is written, lived to like 19 and then took a spear in the back or something. So there wasn't a need to like keep people alive and whatever till they're 95. And now it is a different ballgame. So don't hear me wrong on this, guys. There's nothing wrong with saving money to provide for your family or for yourself, or when you get dementia and your wife tired of dealing with you and wants to put you in the home. So no judgment on any of that. But what it's really trying to get at is that there are things of real value and there are things that are not of real value. And if your mindset is just about storing up, just the portfolio, so to speak, is all we think about, He's really trying to help us to see we're just missing the entire thing. There's a couple passages where Jesus teaches about money in very unique ways. And one is, and I'll just paraphrase the story, one where he's talking about the faithful manager. And it's actually this really crummy guy that his boss fires him, and he realizes he can make a little bit of money on the backside of this contract with this guy if he goes and he pursues all the old clients that he used to manage for his master, and so he's making some money, and at the end of it, Jesus is going, hey, you guys should be like that dude. At least he's trying. At least he's hustling out there, and it's a very interesting passage. And he says, essentially, you Christians, you don't even work your money. You don't even try like that guy. At least give it a shot. And then another time, he shares the passage of that guy that he finds this treasure and he buries it because he's so afraid to lose it, which would be a normal thing back in those days. If you found treasure, there's villains everywhere. There's El Guapos out trying to get your money. And so it would have been very, very normal to dig a hole and hide different things around the place. But Jesus is trying to teach his disciples about our perspective with wealth and resource. And he says, be like that hustler and don't be like that guy that fearfully sticks money in a hole. The point of kingdom living is that because we trust in Jesus to actually be real and to keep helping provide, we are to work money, we're to invest it, we're to try different things, we're to innovate, but we got to use it. Anytime we just sit on it, it's actually an unfaithful, sort of perspective on stuff. Again, this doesn't mean a few bucks put away for, so that you don't have to be dependent upon your kids someday, but this is talking about somebody that out of fear starts growing the portfolio over and over and over and just keeps loading hordes and hordes of money into some sort of belief system that you are safe, that you're not going to have to live in fear. So whenever you put money away so that you're not going to be afraid, you're missing the kingdom perspective. It just means that you live without faith. And so, again, that's a little bit of a harsh word, but that's where it all starts. And where it's going to end is that you don't have to live with anxiousness anymore. And so let's keep going here for a minute. It says, for the eyes of your spirit allow revelation light to enter into your being. Okay, if your heart is unclouded, the light floods in. But if your eyes are focused on money, the light cannot penetrate the darkness, and it takes its place in you. Okay, how profound will the darkness within you be if the light of truth cannot enter it? So he's really saying, get your eyes right. We were sitting out here the other day. A bunch of people in our community were up here just kind of enjoying the day together, helping out. And one of the young guys has been he's been leaning into our community, but he's also been one of these guys that kind of judges me all the time. Like, he'll make little snide comments about, like, when we were renovating the bus, I told him it was kind of donated to me by some prisoners, and he's, we're up here, and he's like, yeah, Halter, you always get stuff given to you. And he didn't say it in an encouraging way. You could tell he was frustrated. He's a younger guy. He hasn't put in his reps yet. But I didn't want to say anything. But I did say, hey, let's get together this week. I want to talk about just that comment and about how to get your eye right. And what I'm going to share with him is what I've shared with tons of guys. And most of them weren't upset with me because I got some farmhouse or got a bus to renovate or something like that. Most people they've been really intrigued by how much resources come in to the halter world and what we do with it. And I always share with guys, like, for most of our lives, we didn't have anything. We were hand to mouth every 2 weeks, trying to paint a house just to make it through the next 2 weeks. But yeah, over the years, even when we were sort of cash poor, people tended to give us things, like, all the time. And when Cheryl and I have talked with her about people, maybe we shouldn't talk about it because people sometimes get upset, but we've always tried to basically say everything that has come through us has been like a pass-through. Like, literally, it's almost like God was letting us be a manager of his resources, because we just would kind of keep letting it flow out. Or we would take what he would give us and then we would use it for a larger community. So, like, this farmhouse obviously was not given to us, but there was a donation into our nonprofit, and so we're buying this land back from the nonprofit. But the whole thing, just even getting 40 acres to do an equine therapy, there was a gift involved in that. But whenever we get something like this, we blow out the walls. So I'll show you the house in a minute, but it's this old farmhouse, but we tore out every wall in the house. It's all beams, just so that we can get 50 people in the house and then 50 people on this deck. We're going to have campsites all over this land, so people that don't have any resource can actually come and camp on our bus, on our land, with their kids, and all sorts of different things, all the way to the equine therapy. But there's a part where you have to, when you think about God's resourcing for you, a lot of the reason why I think God doesn't give us stuff sometimes is because our eye is not right. Okay, and that's why that first passage, like, if we're still trying to lay up treasure, God's probably not going to dump a lot of extra on you, because he knows you'll just bury it, or you'll invest in your portfolio. You'll pad the pocket, so to speak. But I will tell you this, if you can get to the place where more and more you just see yourself as a pass-through for God's resources, God seems to load up. And he loves men that he can entrust with resource. But you got to get your eye right. And so if you look at other people and you covet what they want, your eye is not right, right? There's no reason why a dad would give a son money if he's, constantly looking at the neighbor's car, or if he's not thankful for what he has. There's lots of things that you would obviously know. You can tell when a man's eye is not right. But when your eye finally becomes clear, and there's light, the light of the kingdom comes into your life, because where you go, I actually have everything I need. I don't need anything. I was telling Cheryl the other day, this farm is awesome. It's going to be great, but I don't need it. And there's, I will get a tractor, which I have at times coveted in my life, but it's when we lived in inner city Portland, so a tractor wasn't needed. But I will get things that I used to really think that I wanted, but I don't need it anymore. I'm just as happy to hire a guy with a tractor. I used to have a Harley. That was one thing I thought, man, if I could just get a Harley. Well, then I had to sell the Harley to pay for my second daughter's wedding, and the Harley was gone. And I was just telling her the other day, like, I literally cannot think of anything other than a few tools that I'm going to need around this joint that I want. I don't need anything. I don't want anything anymore. And that's helpful as I'm 54. I wasn't always this way, but as you work on the inner life of the kingdom, you will find that you are just really happy with what you have. But the great theologian Sheryl Crow, it's not having what you want, it's wanting what you've got, right? It's just, the great wisdom of the heavens is the more thankful and content you are, the clearer your eye is going to be. And then when a neighbor's got a better car or a better membership at a better club, you don't really care. And so God can begin to give more. And so, number one, don't store up stuff. Work the money. Trust God for the future. Get your eye right. And then third, it says, how can you worship two gods at the same time? You will have to hate the one and then despise the other. You can't worship the true God while you're enslaved to the God of money. Okay. Another translation says you cannot serve both God and mammon. And this is the story, if you remember the two currencies of the time that the book was written. It's the same currencies that we live with today. Mammon was the money of the kingdom that they existed in, which was Rome at the time. So it's Roman money. It was mammon. And the Romans would print money, and it was used in a very controlling sense, right? So it created hierarchies between people. It created division. It created control and power structures, and not only consumerism, but abuse. Everything was related to mammon or money, right? And so Jesus is teaching right here that you cannot serve God in his kingdom, the king in the kingdom. There's a whole different currency that works. So if I go over to, the UK, I'm working with the pound, right? If I go to some other country, it's a different currency. When we give our lives to Jesus and we enter into his kingdom, he doesn't do money the same way. It is literally a different currency. You go to Australia, they got the coolest money ever in Australia. It's like different colors, beautiful colors. You can't rip it. It's got fantastic graphics on the thing. But that's kind of what entering the kingdom is. Jesus goes, here's your new money. This is how we're going to roll things. And you don't have to store it up anymore because my economy works off of manna. And he takes us all the way back to the Old Testament. And he says, remember how I used to drop essentially food? It would cover the ground. It wasn't great, but it was good enough, right? It was decent. It kept you alive. And I told you, don't store it up. Just trust me for the next day. That's literally how his economy works now. You literally can trust him. And think about that. That's why it goes to the final verse here. This is why I tell you, never be worried about your life. For all that you need will be provided, such as food and water and clothing, everything your body needs. Isn't there more to your life than a meal? Isn't there more to your body than clothing? And he says, hey, guys, look at the birds. I can hear the birds right now. Look at the birds. They're not freaking out. And your Father who loves you way more than them just provides naturally. And he says, and why would you worry about your clothing? Look at the beautiful flowers of the field. You don't worry or toil. They don't worry or toil. And yet not even Solomon in all of his splendor was robed in beauty more than one of these. So if God has clothed the meadow with hay, which is here for a short time and then dried up and burned, won't he provide for you the clothes you need, even though you live with such little faith? So then forsake your worries, he says. Why would you say, what will we eat, or what will we drink, or what will we wear? For that is what the unbelievers chase after. That's what people that don't know about the king and the kingdom economy do. They don't know that's available, then yeah, they're going to worry. For that is what the unbelievers chase after. Doesn't your heavenly Father already know the things that you require and need. So above all, constantly chase after the realm of God's kingdom and his righteousness that proceeds from him. And all these less important things will be given to you in abundance. So it's just the 4 amigos. Don't lay up treasure. Don't do money based on fear. Get your eye right. Don't try to don't have feet in both worlds. Don't try to get the benefits of God's kingdom economy without doing your money the way God does it. And then be at peace. There's a great Oswald Chambers quote that I live by. And he says, when you're worrying, it's usually because you're getting what you deserve. Okay? We worry when we know that we have not been living according to the scripture. Then worry is built into that system, right? So if we know we've been laying up treasure, we've been overworking, we've been spending our money on us far more than on God's kingdom, then yeah, worry. Like you're getting what you deserve. But he says, but when you can finally focus your heart and your mind, get your eye right with God, look upon the undisturbed face of Jesus and receive his peace. And I love that picture where when I know that I don't want anything else in this world, where I don't need anything else, I'm thankful for what I have. When I know I've worked every cent he's given me, I'm working and I'm trying things. And they don't all work. Sometimes I lose his money. But I think he loves it when we try things to benefit us and others so that we can keep giving more. I think he loves that. And when I've done that, I feel like I can then go to bed at night and sleep and go, God, I'm going to trust you with tomorrow. That day went great or that day didn't go so well. But give me your perspective about the kingdom. Let me serve you only as my God. And then the peace of God, the undisturbed face, will look at you. And whenever you're trying to, get your eye clear, look at the face of Jesus in your mind's eye, and just notice he's not wringing his hands, he's not scrunching his brow, he's not popping, marijuana gummies to calm down. He's actually smiling, going, son, I got this. I got all the resource in the world. I am not short on cash. I own all the cattle on 1,000 hills. But right now, your eye's not right, son, so I'm going to feed you one burger at a time. And then later, when you get your eye right, when you can really trust me, you'll be surprised how much I'm going to give you. So, guys, just get your eye right. Maybe that's the word for today. Get your eye right. Here's the inside of the Halter farmhouse, little kitchen, little big room, little whatever that room is. Here's the big open, I don't know, little decky, little barn. Bussie's over there parked. That's where you all stay when you come out and visit. That's the Elkhorn Saloon, and that will be the pasture, horse arena area all over that. Little backyard, toys for the grandkids. All right. Love you. We'll see you soon.